So let me ask this question because what if it's been because of the tight end room as of late? What if that's been kind of the reason why you haven't gone all in on a wide receiver? Because, I mean, when I look back at who Georgia has recruited at the tight end position, I mean, obviously you got Brock Bowers. Before that, it was Darnell Washington. I mean, bona fide 5-star. That dude is a freak. We need him. Then you went and got Brock Bowers. Then you went and got Oscar Delp. Then you got Lawson Luckley. Multiple names in these draft classes. And so what if that has kind of created this cause for maybe a lesser end on the wide receiver room?
So what you're talking about is the fact that Georgia's been a heavy 12 team for a while, right? They've been playing two tights. They've been doing the thing.
Yeah, and maybe that because they went and got a tight end, maybe because they found a Brock Bowers, they were like, let's try and focus on this for a little bit. Maybe we found something. Maybe we can try and replicate that a little bit.
And hell, there's classes like this one where they almost took 3 tight ends and only two wide receivers.
Yeah.
Right? They were in on Riddell. They were in on Landon Thomas. They were obviously in on Colton Heinrich, who they signed. So this is a football team that has placed resources and put in a bunch of investment into the tight end position. So you are correct. But I think what we're trying to transition into is whether or not you're going to remain an 11 or 12 team, right? And if you bump back into an 11 personnel team, you're obviously playing more wide receivers. There's more room to grow. You're going to start recruiting that spot a little bit more. So let's go through our talking points here. Why were you a 12 personnel football team, right? We all know, and if we don't, we're going to get into it, right? 11 personnel is 1 running back, all right, and 1 tight end, all right? 12 personnel, I know y'all love my handwriting. 12 personnel is 1 running back. That's an I. Holy hell. 1 running back and 2 tight ends. Now, the reason you've been a 12 personnel team the last couple of years, in my opinion, is because not just because you got 2 great tight ends or you've had 2 great tight ends, but one of those tight ends is very uniquely talented in the form of Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers was an H that could play end of line, right? So if we put the right tackle right here, Brock Bowers can play there. But he also can detach out here and play in the slot. And oh, by the way, he can run in motion and be our jet guy. And oh, by the way, he can line up out here and he can be our back shoulder guy. And oh, by the way, he can line up back here and be our running back guy, right? So we can stay in 12 personnel, but in reality, we're not really in 12. We just look like we're in 12 because the sub-bitch is listed as a tight end on the roster, but he's really not. So the question becomes, do you actually have one of these left on your roster? Do you have one of these H-back tight ends that can be a quote-unquote move tight end? And if you go through the 4 names, right, it's Pierce Sperlin, it's Lawson Lucky, it's Oscar Delp, 5 names. It's Colton Heinrich, and it's Jaden Riddell. All right, the difference here is like Oscar Delp came into Georgia, people thought he was going to be a move tight end, right? 6'4", 225, sub 4.52, running 40 guy. Super good athlete out of West Forsyth, former lacrosse player. Was fairly new to football. Well, as soon as he gets to college, they're like, hey, we need you to put on 30 pounds. He's like, okay, I'll do it. He's walking around 250 right now. He is your end-of-line tight end. He's your 1 in that 11 personnel bracket. So if we're going to add on and be a 12 personnel team, we better find an H, a move tight end, or else we're just playing 2 tight ends, and I made the joke earlier, we might as well be Kentucky. And if you want to be Kentucky, that's cool. But that's not what made your 12 personnel great. What made your 12 personnel great is this guy. So now the question becomes is Pierce Sperlin one of these dudes? Pierce Sperlin only played wide receiver in high school, right? Go watch the highlight tape. He's out there routing folks up, making plays on the edge. Well, that dude's 6'6", 230 pounds. All right, and separation at the college level has become much, much harder. So they're transitioning him into more of an end-of-line tight end guy. Jaden Riddell, Colton Heinrich, let's leave them out right now because they're still freshmen. That leaves us Lawson Lucky, who, in my opinion, is the only guy on the roster right now that we feel comfortable trying to do this stuff by come September time, right? And that question now becomes, guys, is come September, is Lawson Lucky going to be more of a threat to defenses? Is he going to be harder to cover, harder to guard, harder to handle, okay, than, say, the 3rd wide receiver? And let's say the 3rd wide receiver, let's say, Robert Thomas is the X. Let's say Dylan Bell is the Z. And let's say that leaves a discussion of Lawson Lucky versus Dominic Lovett, or Lawson Lucky versus Arian Smith, or Lawson Lucky versus Michael Jackson III. You get the point.
Yep.
That now becomes the discussion where in years past, Brock Bowers over all of those guys that we're talking about here. So that is kind of the discussion that you're now in. It's not a problem. But I would say based off the way that you're continuing to recruit 2 wide receivers in this class, damn near try to sign 3 tight ends, you don't look like you're moving away from it. But you might have to take a year of we're going to be 11 base to allow guys to develop.
Is there any chance that they get Oscar to revert back to just being a move tight end? Because, I mean, you can lose weight pretty easily. And they can put you on a good diet program and kind of say, all right, you know, we needed you to be the blocking tight end this year because we still had Brock Bowers, but now that he's gone, we need you to be our move tight end.
Or a way to find the happy medium.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of playing at 250, you came in at 225. Let's play you at 235.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's an idea. It's 100% an idea.
Because I do think that out of pass catching capabilities, I do think Oscar Delp has the edge out of all those guys in the room right now. So,
it's what's so weird about this. I circled Lawson Lucky in this mind of, hey, this is the H-back, right? This is a guy that can move. Did none of it in high school. None. Played like traditional sniffer, okay, and end of line tight end. I think his career high in receptions was 35 catches for like 600 yards. Okay. Was obviously, noticeably, clearly the best player on Norcross High School's football team. Never really got the rock. Okay. Didn't really get to do all the fancy stuff. Now, during 7-on-7 circuits, he got a chance to explore and stuff like that, but was never featured as this move tight end guy. Whereas, and now he gets to college and they're going to have to try to find out if he can do this stuff because he's only, and it's going to sound crazy, he's only 6'3", 230 pounds. Like, he's not these other guys. Okay, Oscar's 6'5", 240, 250. Pierce is 6'6", 240. Okay, Jaden Riddell is a Neanderthal. Okay, he's as big as Conan the Barbarian, apparently, according to that photo that we saw on Twitter. So none of these guys look like Brock. None of these guys move like Brock. None of these guys play like Brock anymore. I think it removes the option to just live in 12 personnel unless we're in short yardage situations. And then again, you can do it. It's fine. It still causes a number count issue for the defense, but it's not as stressful as some of these 12 personnel groupings are.
I mean, it's your offense isn't going to be as stressful when you don't have a guy like Brock Bowers on it. That's just,
correct.
That's just a given.
Yeah, amen to that.
Amen to that. Amen to the folks showing up in this chat tonight. Got a bunch. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate and reviewing, all that good stuff. Were you shocked to hear just how bad the receiving recruiting has been?
Shocked to hear it put out and laid out like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always kind of had an inkling, like, obviously it's not up to a lot of other standards compared to other programs or the other positions. But when you lay it out like that of, here's who you recruited, here's who's around still, here's who's into the portal, and here was your highest rated recruit over these last couple classes, like, then it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily surprised because, like you said, you know, recruiting wide receiver position at Georgia has never been the strong suit of the program. I mean, it's been that way for 15 years now. I mean, A.J. Green is a one-off example, but I think it's more important how they've found somehow every year to have at least one or two serviceable guys. Even when George Pickens went down, you were able to turn to A.D. Mitchell in times of situations like that. Lab McConkey was huge in 2022. 2023 was kind of a plethora of guys. You had to throw Dylan Bell out there some. So they're able to do well with what they have, I think. Now, obviously, that doesn't go without saying they could go out and get more.
I think the heavy investment into the receiver spot is because of the anticipation of we won't be living in 12.
Yeah.
Which you saw diminishing it this year as soon as Brock got hurt.